Well, you just couldn't get enough, huh? Well, we're back on part 2 of our home buyer mistakes that are out there in the market, and the things that if you're thinking about buying a house in the near term, you need to know that these mistakes can cost you hundreds, if not thousands, maybe even tens of thousands. You're going to be glad that you're here. We're glad you're here. And listen, our first video, if you missed it, is right here. You can connect back to it and you can see some of the things that we shared before, but it's been so popular and we've got so many messages and DMs from other people. We said, hey, let's run it back. Let's do another great show about some other key tips that you might need to avoid if you're looking to buy in the next near term. Near term in real estate could be as much as 6 months to a year. If you haven't moved in 20 years, near term is a year. So we talk about that all the time. People are like, I'm not ready yet, but they don't realize that actually the time can get here quite quickly. I was working with a partner of mine earlier today, and she's got a client. This is in March, and we're talking about she's got a client that wants to be where they want to be by August. I said, gosh, they need to be in the business right now because they've got to have time to get ready. They've got time to get approved. They've have time to search. They've got to have time to go into the market, do inspections, contingencies, repairs in order to move in. They need to get started right now in the next 30 days. So just an interesting tip. But we're excited to get into this with you. It's going to be a good video with some of our other tips and strategies to avoid in the home buying process. Okay, number one that people often overlook that we see in the market is neighborhood research. Now, this can be really, really important, especially in our market in Nashville, Tennessee. We're seeing people move from all over the country. We're a major migration market. We're surging in population and have people moving here from all over the country and the world for that matter. And people aren't necessarily doing enough research about the neighborhood. So we highly recommend that you research the neighborhood pretty thoroughly. Now, you don't want to get too bogged down into this and do a ton of research on 10 different neighborhoods. This is really when you're starting to hone in on your 2 or 3 real specific neighborhoods that you want to get into. And so you want to start to look into some of the traffic patterns. You want to look at some of the anchors of the neighborhood. What's the anchor of the neighborhood? An anchor could be a church or a shopping area or a restaurant or a park or a school. There could be any number, community center. What is going to be in the neighborhood that is going to be a major anchor for you? And look at the history and look at the future. You can look at this by going back and doing a quick Google search of Googling the neighborhood. You can look into Nextdoor and you can find some resources there. You can ask your agent of choice in that particular market to share their experience, but you can always go backwards. And often that'll give you a nice indicator of who has been there, what the history has been. You can also look forward. And in most areas, you'll have a planning department for your city or town. And you can actually go through and see what the plans are going to be for that neighborhood. What does the community actually want in that neighborhood in the next few years? The communities go through and do community plans and they survey and have community meetings. And so you can really lean into that. There's also great resources to go through and to look at some of the activity, the traffic patterns, and even the crime statistics. There's an enormous amount of resources out there around the neighborhood. One of the favorite things that we share with our clients is when we're out and we're in the market and we're looking, we actually tell them to come back to the property at different times of day. Look at the day and what the road looks like during traffic around school. Look at what it looks like when school's not in or getting out, and what areas they should look at. They should look at it at twilight and in the morning commute and in the afternoon commute, and see what can really surge. Is it a cut-through street? Is it not a cut-through street? Is it a walkable street? Does it have sidewalks? And you just want to go through and kind of get a feel for what's going on in the neighborhood. Now, there's some guerrilla tactics. We have clients that'll get out there and go door knock everybody in the neighborhood, and that may be a choice for you, or it may be something that you really shouldn't do as you move into the neighborhood. So there's lots and lots of things you can look into, and some of it is very easily found, really right at your fingertips, and some of it you got to get out in the community and ask. And we've had people do that. We send people to lunch after they find a great property and let's go to lunch in the market and talk to somebody in the market around you, whether it's the servers or some of the other folks in the neighborhood. It's quite interesting. You can get people all the time when you're out, and people will flag down, people out walking their dog and say, tell me about this neighborhood. What do you love about living here? And, what do you wish you knew before you moved in? All are great questions, but ask for that permission first. Be kind. Say, hey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? I'm looking to buy here. But that's one of the best tactics that we can share that often gets overlooked is researching the neighborhood. Okay, the next thing that we see people make as mistakes in home buying process is biting off more than they can chew around repairs or renovations. Now, often we hear people say, oh, we're totally open to going through the process and having a renovation and a new product. And that may be, but if you haven't done one before and you're going to live in it and it's more than 4 or 5 major projects, you might want to rethink that. Because if you haven't been through the process, there's so much that comes up in the process that can get into the really causing you a lot of money. If you end up doing a roof and a kitchen and countertops and paint and maybe an addition, that can really get extensive in not different contractors, but expenses and delays even that end up costing you a lot of money. So we want to really define, if you're willing to get into a renovation or a fixer, as many people say in the industry, well, what's your level of experience and do you have those resources and people on your team already, or are you going to be doing all new people? That's a mistake that we see and we help clients through, is we help them find all those people after the fact when they thought they had the one, and if they let them down or aren't available or too busy, we actually end up helping clients meet other great contractors to get through to help them get to their goals. But again, we often see people bite off a little more than they can chew. So let's just talk through that process. Are we doing paint and countertops? Or are we doing a total remodel and electrical and adding footprint and, roof line and all that? Those can be much more significant repairs and improvements to a property that could be a big mistake to avoid. Okay, the next mistake that we find with our clients in the market is not going through and being prepared to act on the properties that they find, and they haven't gotten all their finances in order. So there's 2 different paths here, and we talk to clients right away. Hey, will you be paying all cash or will you be required to get a loan? And what we find is more times than not, we have a lot of clients that do have the cash to go ahead and move forward on their property. But when they don't, we do find that people either one, haven't found the cash and gotten it all lined up and out of an investment asset and getting it lined up and ready to strike, or if they're getting a loan, they haven't gone through that next step of actually going through and getting approval and finding the loan product and finding the right loan officer, and they want to do all that in process. And this can be a gigantic mistake because of a bunch of different reasons. If you haven't done your pre-approval right and gone through the process and found your right price category and know what it's going to take and have that loan product, and you do it in process, when the house is there, it can cause so many troubles. It can be that you're in a price category that we just can't actually reach, and we see that often. Or we find that the cash is tied up in an investment that won't season. It's in a CD that won't season for several months, and it was your cash and it is your cash and you do have it in an account, but you haven't found out how to access it and how to be able to move on it to give you the best opportunity and the best deal. This is the mistake that we hear all the time, is that people are like, hey, I'm ready. I'm all approved. I'm all cash. I'm ready to go. And we have to actually take people through the process and be like, are you so far ready to go that you can execute a legally binding document and show those proof of funds within 45 minutes of seeing the property, such that we can execute and do it? If we're not that far ready, then we need to get that far ready in the process, because often the deals are there and we want to go ahead and be able to strike, and we want to show up professional and in a way that we can know that that buyer, that seller is going to be like, this is the buyer that we want to get into business with. You want to be really intentional about making sure that you've got all your finances in order. If you want to go through the process of getting pre-approved or shopping different products, there's so many unique products, and we absolutely recommend that you do that before you're in the search process. And doing it when you think, well, I don't need it yet, it's going to be fine. There's so many surprises in the process, and this can be a huge hiccup that you can easily avoid by getting started and getting set up in the very beginning. All right, that's it for part 2 of our home buyer mistakes to avoid. Which one gave you the most value? If you'll help us out, let us know in the comments below which one you found valuable, or if we overlooked one, let us know in the comments. That helps too. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Alex and I'm your friend in real estate in Nashville, and we love bringing great content like this that we're using with our clients in the market and in the field all the time. We're not just here on YouTube getting ad subscriptions. We make our living actually helping people just like you buy and sell in Middle Tennessee and connecting people all across the country and the world. We got a great phone call from a client out of market the other day that's actually engaging us to help them make some selections, and it's even in a market that we're not necessarily licensed in, but they want to engage us as a professional contact to help them make some of their selections in their process. And so we're happy to either connect you with an agent of influence in the market that you're looking for your next move, or to be that one if you're moving to Middle Tennessee. So please help us out, smash that subscribe button, drop us a comment, and help us share this with someone that you know that may be moving to Middle Tennessee in the year ahead, so we could start a relationship with them to be their agent of influence in their process as they make the move here to Middle Tennessee. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being here, and help us out, like I say, with all that subscribing and comments below. But until we connect connect again. My name is Alec, and I'm your friend in real estate in Nashville. We'll see you soon.